I never thought a single day could change my entire life. Yet here I was, staring at my empty office, the walls echoing with silence, my heart pounding in disbelief. All my hard work, every late night, every sacrifice, it was gone. Alex had stolen everything. My company, my reputation, even the trust I'd placed in him like he was family. I sank into my chair, gripping the edge as if it could keep me anchored. My phone buzzed incessantly. Emails, calls, messages, most of them polite inquiries, some of them cold, cutting accusations. Is it true she mismanaged the funds? One asked. How could she betray us like this? Another, I'm afraid we can't work with her anymore. I closed my eyes, trying to stop the world from spinning. No, this can't be happening, I whispered to myself. Hey, Sonia? Mara's voice was gentle but tense. My assistant had been with me since the beginning, and her presence was the only thing keeping me grounded. She stepped into the office carrying a folder. I I heard about Alex. I'm so sorry. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. It's true, I said, my voice barely more than a whisper. He he took everything. My company, my clients, my life's work. Mara placed the documents on my desk. These are the documents he left behind. Emails, contracts, it's all evidence. You can fight back. I shook my head, a bitter laugh escaping. Fight back? Mara, he has connections, lawyers, money. And me? I have nothing, nothing but my anger and this ruined reputation. She knelt beside me, gripping my hand. You're stronger than you think you are. Alex may have taken your company, but he hasn't taken you, not the real you. I wanted to believe her, but it felt impossible. I had trusted Alex completely. He had been my partner, my friend, my brother in arms. I had shared my ideas, my dreams, my life, and he had betrayed me with a smile on his face. Anger surged inside me, hot and blinding. He lied to me for months. Every meeting, every decision, he manipulated everything. I slammed my fist on the desk, startling even myself. And everyone believes him. Everyone thinks I'm the criminal. Mara's eyes were steady. Then we'll prove them wrong. Step by step, you'll see, Sonia. We'll rebuild. I laughed hollow and bitter. Rebuild? From zero? Mara, I don't even know if I want to anymore. She shook her head, firm. No, you will, because you're not the kind of person who gives up. Not now, not ever. Remember why you started this company? Because you wanted to make a difference. Not for money, not for fame, because you believed in yourself. And that part of you, Alex can't touch. Her words cut through the haze of disbelief and fear. I had started my company to create something meaningful, something lasting. And yes, Alex had stolen the company, but he hadn't taken my knowledge, my skills, or my vision. I stood abruptly, pacing the office. I trusted him, everything, every single thing, and he destroyed me. How could someone be so cruel? Mara's eyes were steady. People like Alex, they think they're untouchable, but pride always blinds them. He won't know what hit him. I shook my head, a mix of sorrow and fury coursing through me. I can't let this go on. I have to do something. I have to survive. I trailed off, realizing I didn't even know where to start. My company was gone, my reputation in ruins, and my bank account almost empty. Mara's hand squeezed mine. Then we start small, one step at a time. You've built empires before. You can do it again. But first, you have to take care of yourself. Don't let him see he broke you. Not yet. I sank back into my chair, exhausted, but thinking. She was right. Alex had taken the company, yes, but he hadn't taken me. I was still here, still breathing, still capable of fighting back in ways he wouldn't expect. A quiet rage settled in me, different from the raw shock earlier. This rage was sharp, focused. It wasn't just anger, it was determination. Alex thought he could destroy me, but he underestimated one thing: me. I grabbed my notebook, flipping through the old plans and ideas I had created over the years. Each page was a reminder of my vision, my ambition, and my capabilities. Alex had taken the company, yes, but he hadn't taken my mind, my strategy, or my drive. I whispered to myself, a vow in the silence of the empty office. I'll come back. Not just for revenge, but for justice. And when I do, he'll regret ever underestimating me. Mara smiled softly. That's the spirit. Step by step, we'll rise again. And when you do, it won't just be about him. It'll be about you, your strength, your dreams, your life. For the first time that day, I felt a flicker of hope, a tiny flame amidst the ruins of my old life. It wasn't much, but it was enough to ignite a plan, a future where Alex's betrayal would be nothing more than a lesson. I stood, the fire in my chest growing stronger. I will rebuild. I will rise. And when the time came, the world would see the woman Alex tried to destroy, standing taller, stronger, and richer than he ever imagined. The apartment was quiet, but it felt heavier than any office or boardroom I had ever been in. Every corner seemed to echo the word failure. Boxes filled with my belongings were stacked in the corner, unopened, like reminders that my past life had ended abruptly. I didn't even have the energy to unpack them. I sank onto the couch, staring blankly at the wall. My phone vibrated. Emails, calls, messages, but I didn't care. Every notification felt like a reminder that the world was moving on without me, while I was stuck here, broken. Hey, Mara's voice came from the doorway. She carried 2 cups of coffee, her expression soft, cautious. I thought you might want this. I took it without looking. Thanks, I mumbled. She sat beside me, careful not to crowd me. Sonia, I know it feels impossible right now, but I promise you it isn't. You're stronger than this. I scoffed, bitter and tired. Stronger? Mara, he took everything. My company, my clients, my reputation. Everyone thinks I'm a fraud. Stronger? I'm a joke. She frowned, placing a hand on my shoulder. You're not a joke. You're a survivor. And survivors find a way even when everything is gone. I shook my head, tears prickling my eyes. I don't understand. I trusted him. Alex, he wasn't just a partner. He was my friend, my confidant. I told him everything, every idea, every dream, every flaw, and he used it to destroy me. Mara's grip tightened. That's betrayal, and it hurts like hell, but it doesn't define you. You're still the woman who built that company from nothing. You're still brilliant. Don't let him take that from you. I buried my face in my hands. I don't know if I can go back, if I even want to. Every time I think about starting over, I feel nothing, just emptiness. Mara hesitated, then spoke softly. Maybe the emptiness is a sign that it's time to rebuild, differently this time, to protect yourself, to grow beyond what you were before. Her words lingered in my mind, but they felt distant, almost unreal. I had no money, no office, no clients, only the hollow shell of my dreams. I stood suddenly, pacing the small apartment. I trusted him. I gave him everything. And he laughed behind my back, took my company, destroyed my reputation, and I did nothing to stop him. You will do something, Mara said firmly. Not tonight, not when you're drowning in grief, but you will. You have to believe that. I sank back onto the couch, exhaustion washing over me. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional, mental, spiritual. Every part of me ached. Every memory of Alex's betrayal felt like a knife twisting in my chest. Hours passed. The sun set outside my window, painting the room in muted orange. I thought about my company, my team, my dreams. They were gone, stolen in one cruel stroke, and I had nothing left. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to disappear. But somewhere deep down, a small spark refused to die. It was faint, fragile, like a single flame in a dark room, but it was there. I reached for my old notebook, dusty and forgotten on the shelf. Flipping through pages filled with business plans, ideas, and visions, I felt a pang of longing and loss. But then, a strange sense of clarity. These were my ideas, my brainchild, my dreams, and no one could ever take that from me. Mara watched silently, letting me sit with my emotions. Finally, I whispered, almost to myself, I have to start over. I don't even know how yet, but I have to. I can't let him win. I can't let him break me completely. Her eyes softened and she nodded. Exactly. Step by step, one foot in front of the other. You're not alone, Sonia, and you will rise again. I wanted to believe her. I clutched the notebook to my chest, feeling a small, stubborn determination forming. Alex thought he had destroyed me, but he hadn't. Not the real me. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, staring at the city lights, imagining a future where I was whole again, stronger, smarter, unstoppable. I didn't know how I would get there, but I knew one thing. I wouldn't stay down. Not for long. And in that darkness, amidst the grief and the emptiness, a promise formed in my mind. I will rebuild, I will rise, and when I do, Alex will see what he lost and what he tried to destroy. I left the city the next morning, the skyline fading behind me like a memory I was ready to burn. Every street, every building, every familiar corner had reminded me of Alex and his betrayal. I needed distance, clarity, and a plan. Something that would take me far away from the mess he had created. The small town I moved to was quiet, unassuming. The kind of place where no one knew my name, my past, or the empire I had once built. It felt peaceful, and for the first time in weeks, I breathed without the weight of humiliation pressing on my chest. I found a tiny apartment, barely furnished, but it was mine, alone. No distractions, no reminders, just me and a notebook filled with my ideas, scribbled plans, and dreams that hadn't died. Days passed slowly. I spent hours reading, learning, and researching. Business trends, strategies, investment tactics, marketing campaigns. I devoured everything trying to fill the holes Alex's betrayal had left. But it wasn't just about knowledge. It was about rebuilding my confidence, piece by piece. Then I met him. I was attending a small seminar on business innovation, the kind of event no one famous would bother to attend. I sat quietly in the back, taking notes, when a man approached me afterward. He was tall, sharply dressed, and carried an aura of quiet authority. "You're Sonia, right?" I blinked, startled. "Yes. And you are?" "Ethan. I've heard about your work. The company you built?" Impressive. His eyes weren't condescending. They were sharp, discerning, almost like he could see straight into my mind. I hesitated, unsure if I should trust him. I thank you. He smiled slightly. I know what happened with Alex. Don't worry. I'm not here to pry or offer pity. I'm here because I believe you can come back, stronger than before. Something in his tone made me relax just a little. For weeks, I'd been isolating myself, nursing my anger and pain. No one had looked at me without judgment or pity. Ethan did, and somehow it mattered. Stronger than before, I echoed, skepticism lacing my voice. Yes, he said confidently. You've already survived the worst betrayal you could imagine. That's your foundation. Everything else, we can rebuild together if you want. I felt a flicker of hope, but quickly squashed it. I have nothing. No money, no company, no clients. And Alex, he still has my name on his lips as a failure. He leaned closer slightly, lowering his voice. Then start small. Focus on your skills, your vision, your ideas. The rest will follow. I can guide you, invest in you, teach you strategies that will make Alex's empire look like a house of cards compared to yours one day. I swallowed hard, my pulse quickening. The words sounded like a lifeline tossed into my stormy sea. I wanted to reach for it, to grab it and never let go. But fear still clawed at me. And why would you help me? I asked cautiously. I don't know you. I barely know your intentions. Ethan's gaze held mine, steady, unwavering. Because I've seen what you can do. And I don't like seeing talent wasted or destroyed by someone else's greed. You have fire, Sonia. I want to help you control it, sharpen it, and turn it into something unstoppable. I paused, heart hammering. I'd spent weeks feeling powerless, angry, and hopeless. Here was someone offering a hand, a strategy, a chance at redemption, not pity, not judgment. Okay, I said finally, voice firm. Show me. A small smile curved Ethan's lips. Good. We start tomorrow. Step by step, no shortcuts. But trust me, when we're done, Alex won't even recognize the woman he tried to destroy. That night, I sat by the window, notebook open in my lap. I wrote down ideas, made plans, and listed what I wanted to learn. I could almost feel the weight lifting from my chest. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark. Not just hope, but determination. A roadmap forming in my mind. I thought about Alex, about his smug smile, about how he had laughed as I was thrown to the ground. I didn't feel the same bitter rage as before. It had shifted, sharpened into focus. Revenge wasn't about yelling or exposing him publicly yet. It was about being better, smarter, unstoppable. I closed my notebook, a small smile tugging at my lips. This is the start. I will rise. And when I do, Alex will regret ever thinking he could break me. I felt it then. The first real pulse of confidence since my betrayal. Not the false bravado I had worn to hide fear, but true, quiet determination. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was planning, strategizing, preparing. The first morning in my new office felt surreal. It was small, barely more than a room with a desk, a few chairs, and a window that let in soft sunlight. But it was mine. Mine to build, mine to grow, mine to protect. I sat at the desk, running my fingers over the surface, as if touching it could absorb the determination coursing through me. Ethan was already there, reviewing a stack of documents I didn't fully understand yet. "Good morning," he said, looking up with a faint smile. "Ready to start?" I nodded, trying to keep my nervous energy in check. I think so. Where do we begin?" "Small steps," he said, placing a hand on the pile of papers. "We start with the basics. Build credibility, gather clients, hire trustworthy people. Every empire begins with small, steady bricks. You just need to lay them carefully." I took a deep breath. I can do that. I will do that. Mara arrived shortly after, carrying coffee and an encouraging smile. "Look at you," she said, glancing around the tiny space. "Your Empire Part 2. I chuckled softly, a sound I hadn't heard from myself in weeks. Part 2, huh? I like that. It feels lighter somehow. We spent hours going over plans, strategies, and potential clients. Ethan guided me patiently, showing me ways to pitch, negotiate, and structure deals that I hadn't considered before. I absorbed everything like a sponge, my confidence growing with each lesson. By the afternoon, we had our first client meeting scheduled. A small local business, nothing extravagant, but a start. I dressed carefully, focusing on professionalism and composure. Mara gave me a reassuring nod as we walked into the meeting room. The client, Mr. Patel, greeted us politely. "So, you're the new company?" he asked, eyes curious. "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "We're small, but dedicated. Our focus is on delivering value and building strong relationships. I promise that working with us will be worth your trust." Ethan smiled from the side, giving me a subtle nod of approval. Mr. Patel seemed impressed by my clarity and passion. By the end of the meeting, we had our first signed contract. My stomach fluttered with pride. It wasn't much, but it was mine. My work, my skill, my determination. As we left the office later that day, Mara nudged me. "See, you're already on your way, one client at a time, one brick at a time." I nodded, smiling. It feels right. For the first time in a long time, it feels like I'm moving forward, not just surviving. That evening, I sat alone in the office, reviewing notes and contracts. I allowed myself a small moment of satisfaction. I had started over, yes, but I wasn't just starting. I was improving, learning, becoming stronger. Then a subtle thought crossed my mind. Alex. I wondered how he was doing. Likely, he assumed I was gone for good, humiliated and broken. But he had underestimated me, as he always did. That thought sparked a quiet fire inside me. "This time," I whispered to myself, gripping my pen tightly, "it's not just about survival. It's about thriving. And when I'm done, he'll see the difference." Weeks passed, and the office grew busier. We hired 2 loyal employees. Carlos, an analytical mind who saw patterns in numbers that even I hadn't noticed before, and Nina, a creative strategist with a keen eye for detail. Both were cautious at first, but they quickly became part of the small, determined team I was building. Every client we gained, every deal we closed, was a small victory against the void Alex had left behind. And with each victory, my confidence strengthened. The anger that had once consumed me began to shift into something more productive: strategy, focus, and ambition. Late one night, Ethan and I stayed behind, reviewing a proposal. He leaned back, studying me. "You've changed, Sonia. The old fear, it's gone. Now there's clarity and precision. That's dangerous for Alex." In a good way. I raised an eyebrow, smirking. "I like that sound. Dangerous how?" Ethan's eyes gleamed with understanding. "It means you're not just rebuilding, you're evolving. By the time he notices, it'll be too late to stop you." I felt a rush of satisfaction and determination. Alex had taken my company, humiliated me, and left me to crumble. But now, the tables were turning. Slowly, surely, my life was reshaping into something stronger, something better. As I looked out the window at the city lights that night, I whispered a promise I'd carry with me forever. I will rise, I will rebuild, and when I return fully, Alex won't just regret his betrayal, he'll see the woman he tried to destroy standing taller than he ever imagined. The city had changed, or maybe I had. The familiar streets no longer felt suffocating. Instead, they felt like a stage where I would reclaim what had been stolen. I walked with confidence now, shoulders straight, head high, knowing that the woman Alex had left in ruins was gone. I had returned under a new identity for business purposes, a name that was unrecognizable to those who knew my past. My hair was styled differently, my wardrobe carefully chosen to project professionalism and poise. Everything was calculated. Every detail was designed to show the world and Alex that I was no longer the same woman he had underestimated. I hadn't planned to see him yet, but fate seemed to have a sense of irony. I entered a cafe to meet a potential client. The bell above the door jingled, and I glanced up, notebook and portfolio in hand, and froze. Alex. He was there, seated at a corner table laughing with two men I didn't recognize. He looked the same, sharp suit, polished smile, but there was something different too. A slight edge to his confidence, a tension he couldn't hide completely. For a moment, I felt my pulse quicken, not fear, but a mixture of curiosity and satisfaction. He hadn't seen me yet. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Breathe, Sonia. He doesn't know who you are, and you don't need him to. I moved to a table near the window, pretending to study my notes while keeping an eye on him. The man I had once trusted with everything looked fragile in his arrogance. The subtle twitch in his hand, the distracted glance at his phone, it was the first hint that maybe, just maybe, things were shifting. Then he looked up. Our eyes met briefly, and I felt a flicker of something. Recognition, perhaps, though he didn't place me yet. He smiled politely at me, a flash of the same charm that had fooled so many in the past. But there was no warmth, no familiarity. I returned a small, polite nod, keeping my composure. Inside, a plan began forming. This wasn't about confrontation, not yet. It was about observation, understanding his weaknesses, and preparing. The cafe was bustling, and I listened to him talk, noting the arrogance in his words, the subtle exaggerations, the tiny cracks in his stories. Alex had built an empire on style and deception, but the foundations were weak. My mind raced with possibilities. Every detail, every nuance, was a brick I could use in rebuilding my own empire stronger than his. A waitress interrupted my thoughts. "Can I take your order?" I blinked, shaking my head. Yes, coffee, black, please." As she walked away, Alex's voice floated to my ears. And if she knew what we were doing, she'd never forgive me. But no one has to know. That's how it works, right? I froze. His words, spoken casually, carried the arrogance and carelessness I remembered so well. He still didn't realize I was observing, analyzing, remembering every detail. Mara's voice echoed in my mind, step by step, one brick at a time. I smiled faintly to myself. Step 1, gather information. Step 2, rebuild silently. Step 3, watch karma unfold naturally. I pretended to check my portfolio, but I couldn't help glancing at him again. The man I had once trusted with everything looked fragile, vulnerable even, and that gave me a strange, almost intoxicating sense of power. The potential client I was meeting arrived, breaking my attention from him. I greeted them warmly, professional, composed. The client didn't need to know about my personal vendetta. This was about business, strategy, and positioning. Every handshake, every word, every confident smile was a reminder to myself that I was no longer powerless. As the meeting ended, I left the cafe, catching a last glance at Alex. He looked busy, distracted, yet somehow uneasy. A tiny smirk tugged at my lips. Things were changing. He didn't see it yet, but the tide had begun to turn. Outside, I breathed deeply, the city air sharp and invigorating. My notebook, tucked under my arm, was filled with observations, strategies, and reminders. I had crossed paths with the man who had betrayed me, and it had been everything I hoped it would be. Not confrontation, not revenge, but a subtle, almost poetic acknowledgement. I was back. And Alex, he had no idea what was coming. By the time I returned fully to the city, I wasn't the woman Alex had left behind. I had grown sharper, more focused, and more patient. My new company was gaining traction, clients were trusting us, and my team, small but loyal, was stronger than any I had built before. I walked into my office that morning, Mara already there with coffee in hand. "Morning," she said, smiling. "Looks like another busy day." I nodded, my eyes scanning the list of potential deals and contacts. "Yes, and today we begin a new kind of strategy." Mara raised an eyebrow. "Go on." I leaned forward, voice low, determined. "Alex thinks he's untouchable. He believes his empire is safe, built on arrogance and charm. But every empire has cracks, every foundation has weaknesses, and we are going to expose them. Slowly, strategically, quietly." Her lips curved into a knowing smile. "Ah, the subtle revenge approach. I like it." I smiled faintly. "It's not just revenge. It's business. Karma will do the rest." The first move was simple. One of Alex's small clients had been dissatisfied for months, but no one had acted. Mara and I scheduled a meeting under the guise of a consulting opportunity. I presented my new company's services with confidence and precision. The client was impressed, and by the end of the week, they had switched allegiance. A small victory, yes, but a psychological one too. Alex didn't notice yet, but the cracks were beginning to show. Later that week, I met with Ethan to discuss more aggressive strategies. "We can't rush it," he warned. "If we strike too hard too soon, Alex will realize what's happening and react. We need to be patient." I nodded. "I know. That's why everything is slow, measured, and invisible. He won't see it coming until it's too late." Ethan studied me for a moment, then smiled. "You've changed. The old fear is gone, replaced by something dangerous. Focused anger." I shrugged lightly, pretending to ignore the compliment. "It's not just anger, it's determination. Every move we make, every client we gain, is proof that he underestimated me." Step by step, I began to dismantle the parts of Alex's empire that had been built on arrogance and negligence. I offered better contracts, stronger services, and personalized attention that his clients hadn't received. Word spread quietly, subtly. Clients left without drama. Employees started whispering about my company's professionalism and integrity. And Alex? He started noticing. I walked into the cafe I often use for meetings and saw him sitting at a corner table checking his phone. He looked up, scanning the room, and I caught the faintest flicker of recognition or maybe worry. It was fleeting, but it was there. Mara followed my gaze. "He's noticing, isn't he?" I smiled faintly, sipping my coffee. "He will, and he won't know how to stop it." Over the next few weeks, I continued subtle moves, poaching clients, providing better deals, and planting seeds of doubt among his employees. I watched as his empire, which once seemed impenetrable, began to wobble under its own arrogance. One afternoon, Mara handed me a report. She said, "Look at this. One of Alex's key clients just switched to us, and they're leaving feedback praising your professionalism." I read the notes carefully, savoring the validation. A thrill ran through me. "It's working," I whispered. "The first real signs of change." That evening, Ethan and I stayed late in the office reviewing progress. Patience, precision, and strategy, he said, leaning back in his chair. That's how you take down an empire built on pride. I nodded, my eyes scanning the list of targets, opportunities, and potential weak spots. And every step feels satisfying. Not because I'm cruel, but because justice is being served. Naturally. Perfectly. Ethan chuckled. I've been watching you evolve. The anger you once carried blindly, it's transformed into something productive, focused, calculated. That's a dangerous combination. I smirked. Dangerous for him, yes, and necessary for me. For the first time, I felt the thrill of power, not the kind that corrupted, but the kind that restored balance. I wasn't seeking to ruin Alex out of spite alone. I wanted to reclaim what was stolen, to show the world and myself that betrayal wasn't the end. That night, I looked out the window at the city lights, notebook open in my lap. I scribbled notes on potential moves, plans for growth, and subtle tactics that would strengthen my company further. Alex had underestimated me, and he would continue to do so until it was too late. And when that day came, the tables would be turned completely. I watched quietly as the pieces began to fall. Alex's empire, once polished and untouchable, was starting to crumble under its own weight. And I had front row seats. It started subtly. One of his long-term clients switched allegiance without fanfare, citing better service and trust. Another employee resigned, leaving a note that hinted at mismanagement and frustration. And yet another small scandal emerged online. Nothing major, but enough to plant seeds of doubt in the minds of his partners. I smiled quietly to myself. Karma didn't need my hand. It was unfolding naturally. All I had done was lay the groundwork. My moves were precise, deliberate, and invisible. The rest was happening on its own. I wasn't expecting him to show up at my office, not yet. But there he was, standing in the doorway, his posture tight, jaw clenched, eyes narrowing as they locked onto me. Alex. The man who would try to destroy me, the one who had laughed while my life crumbled. I looked up from my notes, calm, composed, and unafraid. Alex, I said, my voice steady. What a surprise. He stepped inside, eyes scanning the office. My team stayed quiet, sensing the tension, but I didn't flinch. You're still here? He asked, disbelief lacing his words. I smiled faintly. Of course I'm here. Unlike you, I don't give up when someone tries to ruin me. He took a deep breath, anger simmering beneath the surface. I don't understand. How are you still running a company? People, clients, they were mine. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence speak louder than words. You made a lot of assumptions, Alex. You assumed I'd stay down. You assumed I'd crumble. You assumed the world would accept your lies. But you were wrong. His face twisted with a mixture of rage and disbelief. You're lying. You can't have rebuilt so quickly. I stood, walking slowly toward him, my heels clicking against the floor. I didn't rebuild quickly. I rebuilt smartly, step by step. And the people who matter, the ones who value integrity, skill, and dedication, they followed me because they believe in me, not because they were tricked or bribed. Alex's eyes darted around, a subtle panic creeping in. He was losing control. This isn't can't be happening. I stopped just a few feet from him, looking directly into his eyes. It is happening, and it's your arrogance that allowed it. You underestimated me. You thought betrayal was enough to break me, but it wasn't. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. Why are you like this? Why won't you just disappear? I shook my head, a soft laugh escaped me. Disappear? That's what you wanted, isn't it? To erase me from your world. But I didn't disappear, Alex. I adapted, I learned, I grew. And now, I'm stronger than ever. Stronger than you ever imagined. The tension in the room was palpable. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. For once, the confident man who had stolen everything from me seemed powerless. I continued, voice calm but firm. Look around. My team, my clients, my company. Everything I built is thriving. And you're losing the very empire you thought was unshakable. Every mistake, every shortcut, every lie, it's coming back to haunt you. Alex took a step back, his face pale. This isn't, it can't be over. I shook my head slowly, a faint smile on my lips. Oh, Alex, it is over. Over for you. The consequences of your actions are here. You can scream, threaten, or lie, but the truth is visible for everyone to see. Your arrogance has finally caught up to you. He clenched his fists, breathing heavily, eyes burning with a mix of anger and regret. You'll pay for this. I met his gaze evenly, unflinching. No, Alex, I won't pay. I survived you. I rebuilt from nothing. And this is just life catching up to you. Karma isn't about vengeance. It's about balance. You created the situation yourself. His voice shook now, barely above a whisper. I never thought. I let the words hang in the air. He had thought he could control everything, manipulate everyone, and crush me. And now he realized the truth. He had been the architect of his own downfall. I turned, walking back to my desk, my heels echoing in the quiet office. I suggest you leave before this becomes more uncomfortable. And remember, Alex, every move you made to hurt me has only built the foundation for my rise and your fall. He stood frozen, watching me, then slowly turned and walked out without another word. The click of the office door closing behind him sounded like a final judgment. Mara approached me quietly, placing a hand on my shoulder. You did it. You faced him. I nodded, still absorbing the adrenaline of the confrontation. Not just faced him, I reminded him who I am, and he knows it now. He knows he can't intimidate me anymore. She smiled, admiration shining in her eyes. He doesn't scare you anymore. You've truly risen. I looked out the window, city lights twinkling, and felt a deep, satisfying sense of power and closure. Alex had underestimated me, yes, but I had learned, adapted, and overcome. And now, standing in the office I had rebuilt with my own hands, I felt unstoppable. For the first time in years, I was no longer the victim. I was the victor. And as the night settled over the city, I whispered to myself, this is only the beginning. I survived betrayal. I rose from ashes, and anyone who tried to break me will see my strength shine. The taste of victory was intoxicating, but I knew better than to stop now. Alex had been humbled, yes, but the real power was in consolidating my own. I had survived betrayal, faced him, and rebuilt from nothing. Now it was time to expand, to show the world the woman I had become. Mara and I walked through the office that morning, reviewing the latest client acquisition reports. "Look at this," she said, eyes wide. "Another 3 contracts this week, and all because of your strategy, Sonia. You're not just surviving, you're dominating." I smiled faintly, feeling the thrill of progress. It's not just strategy, it's precision. Every decision, every meeting, every pitch, carefully calculated. The more careful we are, the harder it is for anyone, even Alex, to challenge us. Mara nodded. "And what about expansion? You've mentioned branching out. Now seems like the perfect time." I leaned against my desk, thoughts spinning. Exactly. Our growth has been organic, quiet. That's our strength. But the next step is to make a statement, open new offices, expand our services, show that we're not just a replacement for Alex's empire. We're better. Ethan arrived shortly after, carrying a stack of proposals. "I've mapped potential growth opportunities," he said. "Key markets, strategic partnerships, and even international options. With your leadership, Sonia, this could be unstoppable." I took the proposals, scanning them carefully. Every detail mattered, every opportunity, every risk, every potential client. We'll start locally, consolidate, and then push outward. Step by step, one calculated move at a time. The empire I'm building will be strong enough that no one can undermine it again. That afternoon, I held a team meeting. Carlos, Nina, and Mara gathered around, eager faces ready for direction. I laid out our expansion plan, breaking it down into achievable steps, clearly assigning responsibilities. Growth isn't just about numbers. It's about reputation, trust, and precision. Every client we gain, every deal we close, must reflect our integrity and expertise. This is how we differentiate ourselves from the rest, including Alex's company. Nina raised her hand, a curious spark in her eyes. "And what if Alex tries to counter? He's not going to stay idle." I smiled faintly, a quiet confidence settling over me. "Let him. Every misstep he makes now only strengthens our position. We're not rushing, we're building a foundation that even his influence can't shake. Strategy beats arrogance every time." By the evening, I met with a high-profile client, someone who had previously worked exclusively with Alex's company. I entered the room with confidence, my portfolio flawless, my pitch polished. Every word, every gesture radiated professionalism and authority. "I've been following your company's work," the client began, eyebrows raised. "Your reputation precedes you. I'm intrigued. How do you differ from what I've been used to?" I leaned forward slightly, making eye contact. "It's simple: integrity, precision, and dedication. We don't rely on shortcuts or charm. Every service, every project is built with care and accountability. You won't just see results, you'll experience a partnership that values your success as much as our own." The client nodded, impressed. "That's refreshing. I've dealt with arrogance before. This feels different, real." By the end of the meeting, the client signed a contract. Another victory, another step towards establishing dominance. Walking back to the office, Mara nudged me gently. "You're unstoppable. Every client, every move, it's like watching a masterclass in strategy." I smirked faintly. "It feels good, yes, but this isn't just about business. It's about showing the world and myself that betrayal doesn't define us. Strength does. Resilience does. Strategy does." That night, alone in my office, I reviewed reports, plans, and strategies. Alex's company continued to falter quietly, unable to match our momentum or our precision. He had underestimated me, again, and now the consequences were clear. I whispered to myself, determination steady in my chest. I survived betrayal. I rebuilt. I rose. And now my power is expanding. Every move I make strengthens me, weakens him, and proves I am unstoppable. By the time the city lights blinked across the skyline, I had finalized plans for expansion, partnerships, and key hires. My empire was growing, not out of revenge, but out of skill, patience, and resilience. And Alex, the man who had tried to destroy me, was now a shadow in the background, powerless to stop what I had built. Step by step, the world was seeing the new me. confident, unstoppable, and untouchable. The moment had finally arrived. Months of strategy, patience, and relentless rebuilding had led to this. Alex's empire was faltering, his arrogance exposed, and the people who had once believed in him now questioning every move he made. And I was ready to deliver the final strike, not out of vengeance, but as a statement of strength, skill, and resilience. I sat in my office, reviewing the latest reports with Mara and Ethan. Everything is in place, I said, voice calm but firm. The final deal. Once this is secured, Alex's remaining clients will have no choice but to recognize the difference. His empire will be finished. Mara leaned forward, eyes shining with excitement. Are you nervous? I shook my head. No, not nervous. Focused. This isn't about fear or anger. It's about precision, timing, and execution. Step by step, we've built this. Now it's time to close it. Ethan nodded. You've come a long way, Sonia. From the woman who was betrayed and humiliated to the woman standing here, in control of everything. It's impressive. I smiled faintly, feeling the satisfaction of growth, not just revenge. It's been hard, but every obstacle taught me something. Every setback made me stronger. And now, the final strike is just the culmination of all that work. The meeting with the key clients took place in a sleek conference room. I entered confidently, portfolio in hand, exuding calm authority. Alex, of course, was there, sitting across the table, trying to maintain control, but the tension in his posture betrayed him. Good morning, everyone, I began, voice steady and professional. Thank you for taking the time to meet. Today, I'd like to present an opportunity that not only secures your business goals, but also guarantees stability, integrity, and long-term growth. Alex tried to interject, his voice sharp and confident. Sonia, perhaps we should... I held up a hand, polite but firm. Alex, please allow me to finish. This is about what's best for these clients, not old rivalries. He bristled, but didn't interrupt further. That small act of control, the quiet assertion of authority, was the first strike. He realized he no longer had power over the room. I did. As I presented the proposal, outlining services, benefits, and guarantees, the clients listened intently. Their eyes occasionally flicked toward Alex, a silent acknowledgement that the woman they had once doubted, or whose reputation they had heard about, was now confident, skilled, and in control. One client finally spoke. Sonia, this is impressive. Your attention to detail, your strategic planning. It's clear that your company delivers results. I think it's time we make a change. Alex's face tightened, and I could see him calculating, but the momentum was already against him. Another client added, We've seen the difference in service quality between your company and Alex's. This proposal makes sense for our growth. I leaned slightly forward, maintaining eye contact. Exactly. My goal isn't to undermine anyone personally, it's to provide what is best: integrity, dedication, and results. These are things my company stands for, and these are things that Alex's company has neglected. The clients nodded, murmuring agreement. Alex's shoulders slumped slightly. His empire, built on arrogance and deception, was collapsing before his eyes, and he couldn't stop it. After the meeting, Alex approached me quietly as I gathered my materials. You've won, he admitted, voice low, a mix of regret and disbelief. I underestimated you. I should have never... I interrupted softly, calmly. Alex, this isn't about me winning. This is about you finally seeing the consequences of your actions. Every shortcut, every lie, every betrayal, it's all catching up. You built your empire on sand. I rebuilt mine on stone. That's the difference. His eyes flickered with regret, and for the first time, I saw him truly powerless, not because I destroyed him personally, but because he had destroyed himself. Karma had done its work, quietly, inexorably. I turned, walking away, feeling a sense of closure I hadn't imagined possible months ago. Mara and Ethan were waiting, smiling with pride and relief. "It's done," Mara whispered. I nodded, a quiet, satisfied smile on my lips. Yes, it's done. Step by step, we reclaimed what was taken, and we did it with strength, strategy, and integrity. That night, alone in my office, I reflected on everything that had happened: the betrayal, the heartbreak, the patience, the rebuilding. I whispered to myself, I survived betrayal. I rose from ashes. I faced him. I rebuilt, and I expanded. And now I stand victorious, not because I sought revenge, but because I became stronger than anyone, including him, ever imagined. For the first time in years, I felt truly free, not just from Alex, but from fear, doubt, and insecurity. My empire, my team, and my life were mine, and I would protect them, grow them, and cherish them. The city lights twinkled below, bright and alive, a reflection of the life I had rebuilt. And as I watched them, I whispered one final promise to myself. No one will ever take away my strength again. I am unstoppable. The office was quiet that evening, bathed in the soft glow of city lights. I sat at my desk, the hum of computers and distant traffic providing a calm soundtrack to my thoughts. Everything had changed: my company, my life, even the woman I had become. And yet, I felt an unfamiliar sense of peace. Mara placed a cup of tea in front of me. "You've done it," she said softly, "not just professionally, emotionally too. You've reclaimed everything." I smiled faintly, sipping the tea. It wasn't just about business or revenge. It was about proving to myself that I could survive, that I could rise stronger, that I could take the ashes of betrayal and build something real, something lasting. She nodded. "And you did. Alex underestimated you, yes, but more importantly, you never underestimated yourself." I leaned back, letting the chair cradle me. I used to define myself by what others thought of me, by the people who tried to hurt me, but now I define myself by my own strength, my resilience, my integrity. Mara looked thoughtful. "Do you ever feel empty? Like after all this, there's nothing left to fight for?" I shook my head. "Not empty, fulfilled. I fought through the worst, faced the betrayal, and come out stronger. That journey, it was painful, yes, but it also taught me who I am and who I want to be." Ethan walked in quietly, holding a folder. He said, "I've been reviewing the growth projections. With the expansion complete and your leadership, Sonia, the company is set to dominate the market. And clients are raving about your approach, your strategy, your ethics." I smiled. "It's not just about dominating. It's about showing that strength and kindness, strategy and integrity can coexist, that we can succeed without cutting corners or hurting others unnecessarily." Ethan nodded. "You've transformed, Sonia, not just professionally, personally too. You faced betrayal, heartbreak, and loss, and you didn't let it destroy you. You rose." I thought of Alex one last time, the man who had tried to take everything from me. He had crumbled quietly, learning too late that arrogance and selfishness never protect anyone from consequences. I didn't need to gloat. I didn't need to prove anything to him. The proof was already in my life, my work, and my heart. I closed my eyes, letting the weight of the journey settle. The woman who had once been vulnerable, broken, and lost was gone. In her place stood someone strong, self-assured, and unshakable. Mara's voice brought me back. Are you ready to step back for a moment, reflect, and enjoy this? I opened my eyes, smiling. Yes. I've spent so long fighting, planning, surviving. I've earned a moment to just be, to enjoy what I've built, the people who supported me, and the life I've reclaimed. She placed a hand on mine. You've come a long way, and this isn't the end, Sonia. It's the beginning of something even greater. I nodded. I know, and I'm ready. Ready to grow, to lead, and to live fully. I survived betrayal. I survived heartbreak, and I emerged stronger. That's my victory. That's my life. Later, alone in the office, I looked out at the city skyline. The lights shimmered like tiny stars, a reflection of all the lives, dreams, and possibilities ahead. I whispered softly, almost to myself, I am more than betrayal. I am more than loss. I am resilience, strength, and growth. I am unstoppable, and I will never let anyone take that away again. The journey had been painful, yes, but it had also been transformative. I had learned who I was, what I valued, and how to rise above the cruelty of others. I had turned ashes into something real, lasting, and powerful. And as the city continued its hum, I smiled, feeling a deep sense of closure. I had faced the storm, and I had won. Not just against Alex, but against every doubt, fear, and insecurity that had ever tried to hold me back. For the first time, truly, I felt free. The first rays of sunlight filtered through my office window, casting a warm glow over the city. It felt symbolic, like the start of something entirely new. I sipped my coffee slowly, savoring the quiet moment, the peace I had fought so hard to achieve. Mara walked in, smiling. Good morning, Sonia. Ready for the day? I set my cup down and nodded. More than ready. Today isn't just another day of work. It's a reminder of how far we've come, of what we've built and the strength it took to get here. She nodded knowingly. And Alex, you're okay with everything being over? No lingering bitterness? I smiled faintly. He's a part of the past. I've forgiven myself more than him. That's what matters. His downfall was natural. Mine was deliberate. And now I can focus on what truly counts: growth, happiness, and the life I choose to live. The phone rang, interrupting our conversation. I picked it up, my voice calm and professional. This is Sonia. A client's cheerful voice greeted me, confirming a new partnership that would expand our operations further. I smiled, feeling the thrill of achievement. Excellent. We'll begin immediately. Thank you for trusting us. I hung up and looked out the window again. The city below was alive, full of endless possibilities. I thought about how far I had come, from a woman broken by betrayal to someone who had built an empire, reclaimed her power, and redefined herself entirely. Ethan appeared in the doorway, holding a folder. Morning, I've got the latest expansion proposals ready. We can discuss strategy for entering international markets. I waved him in. Perfect. Let's do it. This is about growth, about building something sustainable, something better than anyone imagined. Every lesson we've learned, every step we've taken, it's all led to this moment. Mara leaned over, whispering softly, Sonia, your husband. I turned, surprised. Husband? She smiled knowingly. The man you've met over the past months, the one who supported you quietly, without drama, without expecting anything in return. He's waiting outside. I think it's time. A rush of warmth filled me. The past had been painful, yes, but it also had led me here, to someone who truly respected me, valued me, and saw me for who I was. I took a deep breath and walked down to meet him. He stood waiting, hands in his pockets, a soft smile on his face. When our eyes met, I felt a calm certainty. This was right. This is where I was meant to be. "You're early," I said teasingly, though my heart raced. He chuckled softly. I didn't want to be late for the start of something perfect. We walked together through the city streets, sunlight warming our faces. It felt simple, natural, beautiful. For the first time in years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder, worried about betrayal or revenge. I was simply living. He stopped suddenly, taking my hand in his. "I've seen you grow, fight, and rise, and through it all, you've remained incredible, strong, brilliant, and kind. I want to be by your side, not to fix you, but to support you, to share this life with you." I squeezed his hand, feeling a mixture of relief, happiness, and love. "You already have. You've supported me in ways no one else could, and I choose to walk this path with you, together." We continued walking, laughter and soft conversation blending with the morning bustle. I felt alive, free, and untouchable. My past, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the struggles, had shaped me, but it did not define me. That evening, back at my office, I reflected quietly. I had reclaimed everything that was taken from me: my confidence, my power, my reputation, and my happiness. And I had gained something even more valuable: a partner who truly respected me, a team that believed in me, and the knowledge that I could rise above any challenge. I whispered to myself softly, a smile touching my lips. I survived betrayal. I rebuilt. I rose. I loved. And now I live. Fully. Freely. Powerfully. This is my dawn, my life, and my story. The city shimmered below like 1,000 tiny lights, each one a promise of endless possibilities. I had faced the storm, survived it, and emerged stronger than ever. And as I watched the horizon glow with the colors of a new day, I knew one thing with absolute certainty: nothing and no one can ever take away my strength, my happiness, or my life again.